Michael Mark Cantonini back here on the IronBirds broadcast network with IronBirds pitching coach Jordie Henry. Jordie, really appreciate you taking the time to do this today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
You guys have talked a lot about pitch shapes this year. What do
Yep.
you mean when you say pitch shape?
So pitch shape, just in the most practical sense, would be the movement of the pitch. And for each guy, it doesn't necessarily need to be the same type of slider. If you're talking about three different pitchers that throw a slider, Fruit has a particular pitch shape that he's working on with his slider. Preston Johnson has a particular pitch shape that he's working on with his slider. Certain guys we're shooting for different types of movement profiles that fit into the category of a fastball or a slider or whatever. And it's a little bit different for each guy depending on, their delivery, the rest of their arsenal, kind of how it fits. So like pitch shape is just a certain movement profile, sometimes combined with the velocity goal of that pitch for each guy. And they're all working on something in regard to that, yeah, quote unquote pitch shape that kind of fits them in particular.
So when pitchers are working on that and trying to, fine tune a pitch shape, I mean, how much goes into that and how often are they trying to tweak things to help with that?
Pretty much every day, whether they are throwing their stuff in a game. I would say most guys, when they are throwing in the game, we're trying to throw a certain pitch that they're working on, whether it's an execution goal or like a pitch shape goal, like you said. And so we'll have meetings after each game where we sit down and kind of talk about the progress being made on that pitch, what the movement looked like, what the velocity looked like, what the execution looked like, and we're kind of tracking that each outing that they have and checking in on how they're doing with those goals. When it comes to a bullpen or like a touch or something like that, we usually have one or two kind of key metrics that we're honing in on for that bullpen session, whether they're just trying to get, say we're trying to get double digits sweep on this slider today on every rep, like that's the main goal, or we're trying to have it X amount of miles per hour off the fastball. And so like they have one or two very simple pitch metrics that they're shooting for in practice as well, to rep those out. And then in catch play too, like we use certain tools in catch play to where even when they're on flat ground and just playing catch with a catch partner, like they're working on that goal as well. And a lot of times that's just like visual feedback. Sometimes we'll take some video too. But I would say to some degree every day they're working on whatever pitch goal they have. And usually it's well informed. Like we have our internal tools that kind of give us the compass for where to go with those pitches and then kind of give them, um, like I said, those KPIs for how to attack that goal every day with our tech that we use on the daily.
One of your roles as a minor league pitching coach or pitching coach at any level in game is making mound visits. And whether it's to go out and talk about the scouting report or mechanics or just a breather for the pitcher, any combination of that. How do you find the right time and get the feel for when the right time is to make a mound visit?
Yeah, that's a tough one because honestly, when you're a pitching coach, a lot of that is just purely subjective, right? Like you're not able to have an objective sense for how a guy is doing out there. Like you have your live Hawkeye readings and stuff like that. But like when I make a mound visit, I think it's more due to I am kind of reading the guy's body language or like his pace between pitches. A lot of times when I make a mound visit, it's purely based off of what a guy's pace and demeanor is like on the mound. I would say most of the times I make a mound visits because I feel like a guy's getting sped up out there where maybe he's lost his command for 4 or 5 pitches in a row and he's just like moving really, really fast and he's not taking that moment to reset and kind of breathe. So in those instances, you kind of go out there, calm them down, and be like, "Hey, man, like we need a reset here. Working maybe a little bit too fast and getting sped up, where we're not able to focus on what we're doing." Or other mound visits too are just purely logistical. Like we have a guy warming up. This is this pitcher's last batter or two based off his pitch count, and like let him know that, hey, finish strong here. We got another guy warming up, and they need some time to get a few extra pitches in as well. So most of the time it's reading their demeanor. Other times it's just like, hey, we're nearing the end of the line here. Let's finish strong and give the other guy some time to get loose.
Now, there are a lot of native Latino players on this Ironbirds roster, and even in the past in the Orioles org, you've worked with them. I know earlier in the year you told me that you've been working on your Spanish and you've had to learn a little bit of Spanish. How is
Yep.
it communicating with the pitchers who don't speak much English?
You have to be very, very measured in what you're trying to communicate. because there's some things that one just get lost in translation, and two there's things that I just flat out don't know how to say yet in Spanish, and so you don't want to like have things misconstrued or try to joke with a guy and it doesn't come across as like a lighthearted joke or whatever. So like the when you have something that needs to be said, you say it in the most basic, most applicable way that you can immediately. Just because like we got to get a point across, and there's not really any time or space to try to add words where they don't necessarily fit as they get translated from English to pretty bad Spanish sometimes. But yeah, it's just kind of picking your words, being as direct as possible. As you get to know some of the guys a little bit better, you can be a little bit more free with the words that you choose. But yeah, I would say it's calculated speaking is probably the most important part.
Michael Marcantonini back here on the Ironbirds broadcast network. I've got Ironbirds hitting coach Zach Cole with me. Zach, really appreciate you taking the time. Always good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for bringing me on.
So I know when we talked early in the season, it was that first homestand. I asked you what stands out about the position player group in Aberdeen and what you were looking forward to with that group. So now into late August, I'll ask you the same question. What has stood out about the position player group with the Ironbirds and stuff that just jumps off the page that's been awesome for you to see this year?
Yeah, I think earlier in the year we talked about a lot of the guys like aptitude for learning, understanding how that growth needs to work. And that stands true, and even more than I even could have imagined as a group as a whole. As the entire group goes, I think this is one of the hardest working groups I've seen here in my 3 years. And that says a lot because we've had a lot of hard workers and guys that got after it in the past years. But just as a whole, these guys are supporting each other through those as well, not just looking at it from their own lens. They're asking questions like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And they're just wanting to learn more than just their process, but the other guys in case they ever need something like that as well. So that's been exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I mean, it's been a great group seeing these guys develop individually, but as a team as well. But as a minor league hitting coach, with as much stuff as you guys do behind the scenes, what does an average day look like for you as the Ironbirds hitting coach?
Yeah, I mean, it really starts from the off day. Throw up air quotes on that, like looking through what the arms look like going into the week, how who they're going to bring out of the pen, just working through all that. For me, I like to keep myself sort of in shape. I still like my food a little too much sometimes, but start my day out getting my lift in, and then uh, just being there as soon as the guys are there, chat them up, see what they're looking to work through, or just see how their off day was, or did they get some good sleep? Maybe they didn't. Maybe I can take it a little easier on them today. And just getting the day ready and set up so we can get plenty of work in, get lots of swings in, and make some guys better. So, and then getting prepped for the starter the next day, pretty much every day beforehand, so I can roll into the day with everything I need to know on mind. This is what he's gonna do. This is what his weapon is. Here's how he's gonna try to beat us. Here's how we're gonna beat him.
Yeah, I like the air quotes around off day because it seems like you guys are just always on in some way throughout the season. As a hitting coach, what stats or data do you look at the most to evaluate a player and help them continue to develop as players?
We have a plethora of information to look at, and sometimes you need to filter that. And every guy's going to be a little bit different, but obviously we really value OPS. Like, are we getting on base? Are we taking care of pitches and doing some damage with them as well? And that's going to look different for everyone. Creed and Enrique's slug numbers are going to look different, and their walk numbers are going to look different in the same sense. So Enrique getting on base, just getting that walk or that single is a double or a triple. Creed has a little less chance of turning that walk into a double when he gets on first base. Filtering that information, how are they swinging, what are they swinging at, and grinding it out for who that specific person is.
Yeah, I know one of the things that I've seen the last couple of years in Aberdeen is that medicine ball drill that you guys do during batting practice every day to help with swing decisions and just helping guys overall as hitters. How would you describe it and all that goes into that drill?
That's an area we can do damage on. If it's in that zone, we can probably try to hit something hard there. There's some run value and production coming out of that location. So just making sure we're hunting strikes, ready to hit them hard.
Yeah, for our audience at home, trying to describe it, you guys have that medicine ball set up on that bag of balls behind home plate, and like I said, whether it's in the cage or out on the field during BP, and you said the ball's in that zone, that's where you can do damage. Where does that drill come from?
Something that started with our coordinators back when I joined in 2021 with Villa and Bowler, learning how to attack strikes hard. that's been here as long as I've been here. I've taken to it really well. I think the guys really like having it there, and it gives them just a good visual and almost like verbal audio feedback when you take a pitch that hits it. Dang, I probably should have crushed that.
So you've been in the Orioles organization for a little bit while. Who are some of your biggest mentors in baseball?
Yeah, I mean, it all started. I worked for a company, Elite Baseball. The owner of that is the director of hitting with the Cubs. So basically, I just worked for him doing biomechanics originally, and that was Justin Stone. So he was really my first stepping stone into pro ball, my first like mentor there. And I met Sigma Dahl, our assistant GM, through that experience, and got brought over in 2021 when baseball got brought back up. Love Sig, such an intelligent mind. He's been an awesome person that I have gotten to have a connection with. So many others. Anthony Villa really took me under the wing a little bit in 21, just guiding me through the org processes, the philosophies, and how we believe in things. And it already aligned with what I believed. And it's just how do we mold our verbiage to be the same so we can make sure we get a clear and concise message there. And then on the coaching side, we've got Sherman Johnson has taught me a ton. He's such a personable personality, I guess I'll say. He can talk to anyone. He knows how to guide a conversation, just learning through that. And his presentation skills were great for me to learn from when I need to present to the guys. I mean, that's just a short list. Can't finish off that list without mentioning my fiance, who we're both into just growth altogether, whether it's reading and whatever, and she keeps me accountable. And I like to think I do the same for her, but she's been a tremendous help, and going through this lifestyle is not easy for the significant others either. So can't leave that without giving her some praise.